The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I am Luis, your host, and today we have a very special guest, Tatsiana. She's in Miami, and she has done around 500 transactions. So you can imagine the amount of experience she has into the real estate market. So it is better to listen on what she's going to say. How are you today, Tatsiana?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Very
I'm
well,
very good.
thank you. That's great. Can you start just telling us a little bit about your background? How did you start into this business?
I moved to Miami from New York in 2009. So I'm circling the streets of Miami already for close to 15 years. And I got my license when I came here right away. So I'm pretty much keeping myself busy with that.
All right. And how was the market at that moment? Was it different from now?
Oh, yeah. Miami real estate market, it's like a roller coaster. If you remember 2008 and crisis with all these mortgages, what happened? A lot of foreclosures happened at that time. So what happened when I moved here, my husband was involved in buying foreclosure properties where he saw a good business opportunity. And I got my license at the time, got actively involved in the process, buying foreclosed properties, and we've been very successful with that. So we sold someone in a little bit, where it raised some values. It was like a little, we fixed it, we rented out, we sold it after, and slowly I got very involved in that and started getting, like different clients from outside already, not doing my only personal stuff and so on. And it was a good move because if you look
Yeah,
at the value, the properties that we bought 15 years ago, it raised, I would say, 3 times by now. So it
wow.
was a good move. Yes.
That was a good move, yeah. And can you describe a particularly challenging transaction you have done in the past?
Oh, listen, real estate business, it's always a challenge, I would say. It's first of all, it's emotional roller coasters for most of the clients. So you have to make sure you possess also the qualities of psychologist a little bit and home therapist because yeah, and it can, anything can go wrong in a transaction, especially when it involves um, you know emotions, and it's real estate, it's a biggest mostly it's the biggest investment in people's life, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it can be very sensitive, especially when someone's selling their primary home or anything else. So I can probably name, remember a lot of things like that, but a good thing that most of them we overcome, all these challenges, and in the end was a good outcome for anybody. To remember particular things, Maybe nothing comes to my mind right away, but maybe, down to
Yeah,
our
no worries. You can
conversation, yeah,
maybe you will remember in a couple of
yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
No problem. So in this case, how do you stay updated with the last trends into the market in Miami?
That's what you really have to do all the time. You have to get updated, be, on the top of the things with the technologies, with the trends, with the new developments. You have to really understand the law changing and be on the top. You have to educate yourself constantly. Otherwise, you can get in trouble because you represent your client. You're the one who they trust with the biggest investment, and they trust your knowledge. So I try, I go to different like courses and classes. I'm constantly reading, checking the market updates, and constantly educating yourself, going to the meeting with the mortgage brokers, the lawyers with the title companies. That's what you need to do all the time to be on the top of the things.
Okay. And in your experience, what are the most common mistakes buyers and sellers are doing?
Buyers, I would say, they uncertain that they have to, make a move and purchase now. Sometimes they're in doubts. Like for instance, many of my clients waiting for the prices to drop, and it doesn't happen, especially in a hot Miami market. Yeah,
Yeah.
it fluctuates, but over 15 years, I haven't seen the prices dropping. They were constantly going up and up and up. Even, they saying, okay, interest rates are really, high now. Now the price is going to be dropped. Surprise, surprise. Nothing happened. Even when it skyrocketed from 3% to 9%, the prices were still going up. And my
Okay.
clients who were expecting this to drop, unfortunately, had to overpay, 10, 15% more for the property just because they didn't act in timely manner. For the
Uh,
sellers,
mhm.
at some point, a couple, after COVID happened, after a year when we have a lot of migration to the Miami from New York State and California. Um, it also reflected on the prices. So we have a like low at some point we have a low inventory, and some of my sellers, what I want to say, they
Yeah, don't
raised,
worry. Huh?
they the mistake from the seller's price, if they want to sell it very fast, sometimes they do a mistake that they overprice the property and they want to put
Oh,
the property over the market price, and that's when mistakes happens, and they're losing time because most valuable time is the first 2 weeks when the property hits the market.
so you have
So
you
it's
th
very important not to overprice the
and what
property.
happens after 2 weeks? So what
You,
happens?
you just, nothing happens. You just get less reviews because when it hits the market, it's when you get the most visibility on every site. Because when new property comes, it hits, the MLS, the Zillow, the Trulia, the Realtors.com. It goes all to all websites all over the nation and overseas, of course. So you get the most of the views at this point. You want to make sure you priced right, so not to lose the interest of the buyers that were
Perfect.
looking for particular property.
And what advice would you give to a first-time home buyer in Miami? Tatsiana?
Like everywhere, not even in Miami, not only in Miami. The value, I mean, the most important advice is to get involved with the right realtor. Because if you're a first-time buyer, you don't have experience, you really have to have a knowledgeable person next to you who can save you a lot of nerves going through the transaction, and not to make mistakes, because it can cost you a lot of money, especially in the view of new NAR settlement changes. What happened recently that were in effect like from August 17th, it can mislead some buyers not to have an agent, because by the new rules, if you heard, the buyers are responsible for paying the commission to the real
Okay.
estate agent. However, it's it shouldn't scare the buyers off to hire one, because first of all, nothing didn't change in general. Your agent will still try to get commission covered and paid by the seller, and it's basically their job. They know how to do that, and they will have representation. You have to have, especially if you're first time buyer, you have to have representation in the transaction, and
Okay.
because they will guide you through all the deadlines, market analysis, connect you with the right mortgage broker, or all other specialists.
And how do you handle to have 500 sales? That's a lot, you know. How did you achieve this number?
Over the years, it's not on 1 year, it's over the years. And I don't know, you had when you have a passion and you have energy and you like helping people, it's not all about the money, but the money is a good part. It's rewarding, but more rewarding it's to have gratitude from your clients, and get all these reviews and from them, and being just to see them being happy with their new place. It feels
Awesome.
really good.
So for the last question, just so you know, also the audience are realtors who are trying to get into the real estate market and they don't know how to do it. So what advice or what piece of advice would you give to them?
To the new realtors,
Yeah, newies that are trying to have
yeah,
500 sales like
I
you.
I would say go for it, but just to be prepared harder than you have ever worked before. It's not 9 to 5 job. It's actually seven 724 724 job, where you constantly on calls, computers. You're spending a lot of time in your car. Maybe you're devoting less time to your family. And just another suggestion or advice, keep the balance. Even though it can be overwhelming, you have to learn how to keep the balance and implement something else in your life, like sports, free time, with the family, going to vacation, and constantly be on the phone. It's hard. Believe me, it's very hard to learn, but you need to do that, because I remember myself going crazy, like you skiing and somewhere in the mountains, and your clients calls you, and you somewhere on a slope with one hand,
Yeah, yeah.
with your phone trying to solve the problems. Yeah, now I'm starting coming to my mind all the stories, crazy stories, but we probably don't have time for it. Where like you're really skiing, and somebody calls you that saying that the wife changed her mind. They in divorce. They don't want to sell the house now and win a contract, and we're gonna be in default and losing the deposits. It's very awkward situation, and I the one have to call the wife, talking to her, listen to the how bad the husband is and how he behaved bad, what he
Yeah,
did to
yeah.
the family, and I have to smoothly go. You really have to be a psychologist at the same time. So besides, you have to be, chauffeur, cleaner, psychologist, and everything. You really have to wear a lot of hats in this profession.
Perfect, perfect. That's awesome, Tatsiana. Thank you very much for being here at Icons of Real Estate. It is such a pleasure to share all your experience and well,
Thank you so much for
we are
having me.
looking for yeah, you're welcome. We're looking for people like you to nurture our channel because this is for motivation, education for the real estate market.
Thank you.
See you and thank you, Tatsiana. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.